I would fine Notre Dame millions of dollars, millions, and hit them in the wallet because they're a big brand, and
And also, they need ESPN as much as ESPN needs them.
Welcome to episode 298 of Empty the Bench here on the Empty the Bench Network, presented by Playback. He's Zain, Bando. I'm Nick Morgasen. Make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at ETB Sports. Make sure you follow the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, as we continue to grow those numbers in our watch hours. So please go over and watch and like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you can't watch on the video side, listen to Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and every other audio podcasting platform. All audio now drops at midnight Eastern. So it's now out at a much quicker pace before the video version. So if you want to get it much earlier, you can listen on the audio side. And Empty the Bench is presented by Playback, playback.tv/ETB Network. Come watch NFL Red Zone with us. Come watch NBA with us. Major League Baseball when it comes back in season, WNBA. And a heck of a lot of other things that could be coming along the way as well. So make sure you listen for a message later on in the show. So, Zain, how are we doing?
We're good. It's the beginning of December. We finally figured out who the 12 college football playoff teams are. We also figured out who was invited or declined rather too. All the various bowl games. I'm pretty sure there's 42 total for the next month or so, starting later this week. So I'm excited to get into all that, get into everything else that was the world in sports, and I guess talk about a crazy last 72 hours across just football period, whether it's the NFL or college football, because I think a lot happened, and we may add a few extra things in there too, so it should be a pretty good show. And again, as he alluded to, if you follow us on social media, all of those clips continue to roll out at a rapid pace. So we appreciate all of you guys interacting with those, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
Yeah, so before we get started with the show, we have a lot to get to. We're going to, as Dan said, we're going to talk about the CFP. We're going to talk about Notre Dame and its stupidity inside of making a decision. Also, we're going to talk about some coaches being hired. We're going to talk about the NFL. There's a lot to get to. But I got to address one thing because over the last, what would you say, week, we found out that our sponsor that we were working with, Novig, the sports prediction market, is no longer legal in New York at this point in time, which means we can no longer work with Novig currently, because that's where I am, that's where Tom is, that's where Liam is, and Nick D being in New Jersey and all that stuff. So to go back in the timeline, California was the first one that was eliminated due to, they have a whole issue with gambling in California due to the law. So they removed Novig from there. That was strike one. Then I find out at 3 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning, I go to open my app and it says limited access, so you can no longer use it in New York. So that basically spelled the end of our relationship with Novig. And if you saw social media posts on our network account at ETB Network, we laid it out. We laid it out as honest as possible. They were not very forthcoming with this information. When Novig left California, we had a month to kind of scramble around and get this all situated. They gave us no warning whatsoever for New York at all. So we had to change a bunch of programming. And if you did watch our football forecast show, we still had picks using the Novig sports prediction markets, because this news came out after the fact of when we were recording. So I think it's a bad optic on their part, and we move on. I'm talking to other companies already that potential sports book stuff to be our new actual sports book, not a prediction market. Um, and we move on. I don't know if you have any reaction briefly to that before we get into the actual show, but it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's disappointing from all of our fronts. I mean, to be honest with you, I enjoyed using the app. Um, to be frank, I'm one of the people that I guess I don't know if it's thankfully or not, but isn't affected. Is it's still legal in the state of Illinois? So, I mean, I guess if I really wanted to, I do have coins to use. But nonetheless, though, from everybody else where it was impacted, obviously it makes sense. If the majority of our community can't use it, then we can't move forward with them. Again, I wish they were more transparent from your end. I think a lot of people have voiced their concerns across the Twitter community. I don't think you're the only one that's put something out about it, or that people are upset that it's no longer legal in New York. But it is what it is. Obviously, they're a growing company. I mean, there's always a revolving door, right? So you always got to hope. You always got to hope for the best that maybe something can work out in the future. But it's clear that they have their own things that they need to worry about right now, and it's obviously very disappointing because again, I liked using the app. I thought it was very very user friendly, and
I liked it too.
obviously, I think it was. Let me just say this: as much as this was rocky at the end, I think it was much better than the partnership we had previous to this.
Yeah.
And I think if there's only going to be, I guess, levels up from here on out. I mean, I think at least we're not in a horrible spot with it. It just sucks that it happened this way. It's just unfortunate too that it's limited in so many states, and well, I don't know if it's thankfully or not. At least for me, I still have access to it, but I know based on how non-transparent they were for people in New York that it could happen in Illinois at any point too. So
And
it
Illinois, by the way, is a restrictive gambling state as it is.
no, I know you can't even bet on the collegiate teams in the state of Illinois.
Well, yeah, and
No,
I,
unless you go in person to certain books, which I won't name on here, but there are ways around it. It's just it's not very it's very frowned upon.
well, isn't it
So,
true now they're charging 25 cents extra on bets, like
yeah,
as like a tax type thing? I don't want to get into that whole thing now. It's really this is not a politics show because this is more about politics than anything. I just wanted to be transparent and say that we're no longer working with Novig because there's too many issues going on with how many states they're in. Okay. Let's let's move on. Let's talk about the big topic that everyone is discussing now, the college football playoff top 12, a lot of reactions swirling around what the top 12 was. Notre Dame left out of the top 12, which was a big story that came out. Did you ever did you think the top 12 was decent, or how would you grade the top 12 the way it came out?
well, I think it's disappointing that not one group of five team got in, but two. I think one of them was more deserving than the other. I think James Madison was way more deserving than Tulane was. So if you're going to put one group of five team in, that's the one I would have put in. And I don't know. I think this may sound harsh, but I think Notre Dame being left out of the 12-team playoff um, over what they decided to do, which was Alabama, I think comes down to to a few reasons. Number one, and I know Nick D is gonna go crazy on me when I tell him this later in the week, or actually later on Friday when the new FP5 episode comes out. But here are a few metrics I'll give you. Alabama has four ranked wins. Notre Dame only had one. Miami defeated Notre Dame head to head in Miami Gardens in week one. So the committee said, okay, well, you think that head to head is more important than the overall body of work, which, by the way, is contradictory to what they had done the prior 4 weeks, which was not flip the two teams, which is what they should have done to begin with. And now they realized, oh, shoot, we made a mistake. Let's actually give Miami credit where credit is due, and let's put them in. And for all the Notre Dame crybabies out there that want to tell me that they won 10 in a row, they only had one quality win against a ranked opponent, and that was USC, and the rest of their schedule was garbage. Or don't be coming to tell me that they clearly are one of the two or one of the 2 or 3 best 10-2 teams when they didn't win the games they were supposed to, and they could have completely taken themselves out of this whole mess had they just won the first game of the season. So I don't. Oh no, and I also think too. I think too what the committee was weighing too was that Alabama beat Georgia in the regular season and wasn't punished for losing the SEC championship game, which gave them a leg up, which is why Alabama got in at number 9.
See, what's bothering me, and this is nothing new what I'm about to say, but like, can we stop? Like, I need an abacus to figure out the math of what counts for now, what didn't count in week 4 or 5. Because I was listening to the radio a lot, to a lot of the national channels, and they were trying to say, well, Notre Dame didn't beat these teams, but now they're counting this, or they beat this team then, and it's not the same body of work. What? This is all ridiculous. Like, wins is what should matter.
Which Miami beat Notre Dame, which means Miami got in over Notre Dame because Miami beat them.
Right, but
which to me, in my opinion, is the way that it's supposed to work. Right, right,
right. But what's driving me crazy, because I can't follow it fully because of all the different speculations that the committee has and rules and whatever they think they should. And I think sometimes they just put teams in because they think it's better for the CFP. I think also, I can't prove that, but
no, there's no way to prove that.
But you don't think that come on, they want Alabama in, they want certain teams in. Now, I'm surprised that they actually took Notre Dame out, because Notre Dame's big for ratings.
They're gonna lose. ESPN's gonna lose a lot of money by not having Notre Dame in.
So, but just this convoluted process of, and Nick D and I had a huge debate over this for about 45 minutes on Leftovers on Saturday, that they need to change this system. Now, Callan made a really good point, who was press row with me, saying you're never going to have a perfect system to figure out who should be in and who should be out.
You won't, but you could also say, Nick, that there should be a standard. Like, don't you think it's kind of hilarious, at least I think so, that Alabama becomes the first 9-3 team ever to make the CFP, when that was never a standard? It was always held against teams that if they lost 3 games, they were guaranteed to be out of it.
Well, that's the other thing too. Notre Dame had 2 losses. Alabama has 3. Tell me, excuse me, in the wide world of freaking sports, where a team that has more losses makes it into a playoff or a tournament or whatever. Tell me in what logic that makes sense.
Well, it would be the NFL playoffs if you win your division.
No, but I'm saying Alabama has 3 losses. Notre Dame has 2. Think about that. Any other sport you play in, the less losses you have, the more wins you have, you're in. That doesn't exist anywhere else. And I'm tired of this argument from Nick D, where he tells me that, oh, well, you can't judge the schedules all the same way. Sure you can. Of course you can. If you made the schedules if you didn't allow the clown show where teams were allowed to pick their games, and you allowed the conferences to control the entire schedule, and you played conference games until the CFP, you wouldn't have to judge what's a good loss or what's a bad win.
Well, what do you do with Notre Dame, considering they're not in the conference right now?
Tell them they don't have a choice. Pick a conference and get into it. That's my answer. No, you want my real opinion of this? No more independent teams. I don't want it. I don't want an independent team. It screws up everything.
It's bold, but I guess from your perspective, it makes sense numbers wise. But my opinion it also is this too, for a few reasons on this. What I don't understand also is what I don't get is the out of the two teams they lost to, the other team, which we haven't addressed yet, is Texas A&M. They were ranked, I think it was number 7 in the final CFP. Now, like, this is where the double standard comes in my opinion. Let's hypothetically say that Notre Dame had beaten A&M. So what are you going to do? Are you going to punish A&M by not making the playoff because they didn't beat Notre Dame in the second game of the season? Like, if you're gonna, my point is if you're gonna have the same standard for one team, you gotta have the same standard for everybody.
But this is why I think the system is flawed. That you're looking at prior history, not at records. The records tell you who's a better team. If you win your games, that should be why you're in the CFP, not because you beat a harder team earlier in the year or your head-to-head says, "Oh, I won against you, so you should be in."
Well, doesn't that contradict why the CFP put Miami in over Notre Dame? Because Miami beat Notre Dame. Technically, they were looking at head-to-head in that scenario. Then, if that's
what was Miami's record?
Miami was a 2-loss team.
Okay, so they both have the same record.
But Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head in the first game of the season.
Okay, so put that to the side. I'm talking about Alabama in this case, where they had 3 losses. Even I know when the CFP started, 3 losses was death. Like, you couldn't make the CFP with 3 losses. Now all of a sudden Alabama's in because they're bucking a trend by allowing a 3-loss team in. What's that all about?
What it's all about is, and this is just based on what the metrics tell you, they have, and I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying this is what the numbers say. They essentially, Alabama may be 9-3, but if you think about it, how the committee views it, which I think is very convoluted and very messed up, they view Alabama as technically a 10-win team that lost the SEC championship game.
Look at the records. You realize that's a fallacy of a predetermined outcome, right?
No, I'm aware of that. I'm just telling you how they view them.
No. And I'm saying the committee is basically saying, "Oh, we're going to be a fallacy of a predetermined outcome," by saying, "Oh, we think they're a 10-win team." But what does the record on paper say? They're 9-3. And that's the record that should be taken into account. And I totally appreciate the argument from Nick D where he says everything has to be ranked.
And the reason why they're viewing I'm sorry. The even greater reason why they're viewing Alabama as a 10-win team that on paper is 9-3 is because they didn't punish Alabama for losing a non-conference game in the first game of the season.
Right, but they did that to other teams currently.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so we have a bias against the higher ranked teams. Let's just say a spade's a spade.
And technically, the committee has an SEC bias too, because if they really weren't biased, and this is coming from someone who is a huge supporter of the other major conference in college football,
well,
you would have had 4 Big Ten teams instead of 3. In my opinion.
I mean, look at Ohio State, who just lost the game. I mean, no, excuse me. Ohio State won the game against Michigan.
Right.
Like, look what happened to Michigan after Ohio State won. They were killed after that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. The system is convoluted. First of all, and this might be a bold take.
And also, do you think this is what I think is ridiculous? And I know we're going all over the place here, but don't you think it's ridiculous that Duke won the ACC championship and won the conference, and yet they didn't get an automatic bid to get into the playoff for whatever reason.
Well, okay, so
That's what
we,
I don't. That's what
we
I don't get. I think every major conference champion should be in.
well, okay, so this is another thing Nikki and I debated on Saturday. I'm so done with the automatic bids. Like, I don't want automatic bids. If you are good enough and your record says you're good enough to be in the CFP, then the top 12 teams make the dance. Or in a couple of years, it's going to be the top 16 make the dance. By the way,
Right, but I'm saying if Duke won the league, which they did, shouldn't they not be being punished for it? Shouldn't they?
well, yes, by technicality, yes, they should have gotten the bid. But I'm saying, first of all, a 7-5 team should not be getting a bid whatsoever, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
And that's going to lead to a topic we're going to do in a second. But I'm tired of what do they call it? These Group 5 schools.
Group of 5 teams. So James Madison, Tulane, schools like that.
These schools have no business being in the CFP at all. They don't even have a chance to win the national championship. They'll get eaten alive by Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State if it goes that far. They might lose by 30 or 40 points. No?
Which is what usually happens, yes.
So, I remember, I went off last week because they were going to penalize Ole Miss because of Lane Kiffin leaving to go to LSU. They were going to penalize them. This committee makes no sense whatsoever on the decision-making process that they make. It's almost like they change the rules every single week to reflect the bigger teams being in.
Well, one of the only things they got right in this bracket was flipping Indiana and Ohio State because Indiana beat Ohio State. That makes sense to me why Indiana is number 1. I have no issue there. I'm sure you didn't have an issue with that either, right?
By the way, that was probably the greatest game of the entire weekend, in my opinion.
That game was awesome.
And if it was, and the kicker from Ohio State,
Jaden Fielding,
missed a 30-yard field goal for the first time in his career, from what I understood.
Yeah.
Tells you how locked in. I actually sat here and I watched the game. But I was like, holy crap. And he didn't miss it by a lot.
No,
either.
He didn't. At first, I actually thought he made it before it hooked left.
So, but they said he was one of the most accurate kickers in the nation.
No, it's true. He was Mr. Automatic all year. That's why I was surprised.
And that pretty much ended Ohio State's chances because then Indiana went off and made that huge throw down the field, which
to Charlie Becker, yeah.
And that was the end of Ohio State. And by the way, and I laugh at this because Portnoy goes off on what's his name again? The Ohio State coach,
Ryan Day.
I don't know why I knew who it was. For some reason the name went out of my head. But Ryan Day can't win the big game. It feels like sometimes.
Well, sometimes he can't, but that's kind of disrespectful though.
No, he won the national championship. I get that.
No, I know.
But there are times when the pressure situation, he can't step up.
It's true. It's now 5 years without a Big Ten championship after that loss.
I get it. I do find it weird though that we make such a big deal about these championship games when the end goal is really the goal.
Yeah, I'd say conference championship games still matter. I mean, that one was historic though because it was the first time a Big Ten championship game had featured number 1 versus number 2. And it was the first time ever that the Big Ten championship featured not 1 but 2 Heisman contending quarterbacks. So
it was a great game.
It was a great game. It was a pretty big deal. So
it was a great game. I'm trying to think who
they could play each other in the national championship in a rematch.
Who was it? Was it Mendoza, the one who had the high energy in the post game interview? Which, by the way, I laughed hysterically, in a good way. Did
you see his post game celebration where
Yes.
where he runs up to the camera and he goes, OHFU.
Yes. He's a funny guy. I'll give it to him. He's got personality, which is
he
good.
really does.
And
Which a lot of people thought that was classless. I thought it was funny.
you won the freaking big game, for crying out loud. Give the kid a break.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's the biggest game of his life, college-wise, probably until they play in the CFP.
Right.
But
His next game is the Rose Bowl. So every game is going to get bigger from here on out.
so let the kid celebrate a big win against Ohio State, for crying out loud.
I agree with you.
Even though
It's coming from someone who's not an Indiana fan, by the way, who could not have been happier for Fernando Mendoza for winning the Big Ten championship.
right, and you know what? Ohio State is still the massive favorite to win the national championship. I'm not willing to go off that bar. Do I think Indiana's going to make a huge run in the CFP?
I think Indiana could. I think they very well could.
I think they can beat Oklahoma or Alabama easily.
I think so too.
But let's talk about the other weird elephant in the room, which was started with Notre Dame, and it led to Kansas State. Well, actually, Kansas State and Iowa State were first.
Can you fix my spacing? I messed up on that.
It's okay. Just leave it. It's fine.
Okay.
But I think Kansas State and Iowa State were first, right? They opted out of games.
Yes.
They ended up getting fined $500,000 each. Which, by the way, I didn't realize the fine could be that big for missing a bowl game. Did you?
I didn't know that either.
So that happens. Then we find out that Notre Dame is being a crybaby because they didn't get into the CFP. And they say, oh, well, we're going to opt out too. And I think that's a bad optic, in my opinion.
I do too. And here are a few reasons why. 15 extra bowl practices. So that's huge for development for the team next year. You know that even though it's Notre Dame and they're a big brand, there's 20% of those guys that are never going to play football again.
Agreed.
So there's one more game. And I also don't understand, and it's now coming out that the seniors voted not to play in the game. You're a senior and you're given a huge privilege and a huge opportunity to play one more game, and I don't understand why you wouldn't want to suit up one more time. That's completely beyond me. I don't understand that.
So, say if it's borderline for some of these seniors, like whether they have a chance potentially to go to the NFL.
To go to the NFL. Here's the thing: players opting out of games is one thing.
No, that's not. I get that. What I was asking was, say there's seniors that are borderline to go to the NFL. Wouldn't it make sense to play the bowl game?
Right, because you don't know what your draft stock is yet.
Or maybe it changes the minds of some people and say, hey, originally he was not on people's boards, but if you have a good game, maybe it puts you on the board.
No,
at that point.
No, that's exactly right. And what I don't understand, and this is more of the goofy side of me talking here, how can you opt out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl when if you win, you literally get a giant Pop-Tart?
I mean, I laugh at that one every single time.
I don't understand that.
I mean, we could get into the whole BS of 42 games. And the only reason they have 42 games is because they have 42 sponsors because they want to make a shitload of money. But it's a bad optic. And by the way, so I don't know why the fines came out for Kansas State and Iowa State, but Notre Dame's not getting fined, or we haven't heard anything yet.
I don't know. It's suspicious, isn't it?
And what I would say is, and I was talking to a bunch of people about this, I would fine Notre Dame millions of dollars, millions, and hit them in the wallet because they're a big brand, and
also they need ESPN as much as ESPN needs them, and they know that.
Right, but I'm saying they need to be fined millions of dollars because they're a big brand. And because they're a big brand, it led to a bad optic, which now more teams have opted out since Baylor opted out of a bowl game, if I remember correctly, also.
Well, to clarify the Baylor situation, Baylor wasn't even expecting to play in one because they had finished 5-7. So
I get it, but because Notre Dame started doing it, now everyone's doing it.
Well, you haven't seen, besides Notre Dame, at least so far, you haven't seen a team that's bowl eligible say that they're not playing in it.
But
Meaning
what's
meaning
but
a meaning a bowl eligible team that is 6 wins or more. Besides, because you saying that everybody's doing it is just not entirely true. It's only been a couple of schools that are doing it.
it just looks like a very bad look in that regard. And let's see, Notre Dame, Kansas State, Kansas, Iowa State, Florida State, Auburn, UCF,
There's a
Baylor.
lot of there's a lot of commonalities with all of those teams though. So
What that
just
there's 5-7, 7-5.
well 5 and 7. Well, no, more so the 5 and 7 point, but also from the Kansas State and Iowa State perspectives, it kind of makes sense. Uh, number one, Matt Campbell for Iowa State wouldn't have been able to coach in the bowl game because he just got hired by Penn State. And number two, due to health reasons and other factors, the Kansas State coach decided to retire. And I mean, it was probably more so a team decision than anything not to play, because if their coach wasn't going to coach them, then they were probably like, oh, what's the point of even playing in it if he's going to retire? So
Someone made a good point on social media. Opt-outs never existed before the 4-team playoffs. Now with 12 teams, we have team opt-outs. The term meaningless bowl game never existed in the BCS era. The playoffs have ruined what made college football special and unique.
I'm also one of the people that believes that I think the players, I don't know if this happens now, but if it doesn't, it should be a permanent thing. They should be offered a sum of NIL money to play in the game. If
Right,
if,
but NILs are deals, not you can't just say, oh, they get money. They would have to make an arrangement for that
no,
to
no,
happen.
no. I know, but because there's loopholes to everything these days, don't think that there could one day be a potential loophole for that
Oh,
too.
yes, absolutely, there
That's
could
my
be.
that's my overall point.
And by the way, with these schools opting out, you do know that these schools get money for participating in the bowl
Well,
games.
you get money for participating in the bowl game, and it also impacts a lot of other people. It impacts alumni, it impacts support staff, because people want to go and support the school that they either go to or went to. So that's lost out revenue of everybody involved, even the people going as far as the hospitality and the service industry too. All those people that were preparing for a team to play in a bowl game, they all have to adjust and shift because of a team's decision, and it ultimately makes a lot of non-football people look worse when they were technically the innocent ones. So I don't know. I mean, trust me, I didn't go to Notre Dame, but if I was a Notre Dame alumnus, I would be pissed that Notre Dame isn't playing in a bowl game. I'd be really upset.
So this says, because I'm just reading off some technicalities.
Oh, and also the AD for Notre Dame, just as another side note, is extremely arrogant. And he goes out on Sports Center and goes, "Oh, the ACC has permanently ruined our
I'll
relationship, and
stop.
this is all and this is all us to make us look bad."
You're a
Well,
big brand on your own. Don't blame other conferences.
yeah, I agree.
You first of all, Notre Dame has enough brand on its own. They should not be blaming anybody for the choices that they make.
Absolutely.
You choosing not to play in a game and saying, "Well, screw you, I'm not going to play in a game because we got screwed." Number one, everyone agrees to follow the committee and the choices that they make, right? So you didn't get in. The committee said you didn't get in. That's the you got to go by it. I mean, I don't know. So like the Big 12 ended up finding, like we said, Iowa State and Kansas State for decline. So the terminology they used was declining bowl bids despite being eligible.
Right, because technically, I don't know if you know this, when a team announces that they're playing in a bowl game, they're invited by said bowl committee to play in that game. You have to formally accept an invite to play in whatever bowl it is, if that makes sense.
Right, but but Notre Dame didn't officially accept the bid. So how can by that rule, why would they be or I don't know if the other did Kansas State and Iowa State accept bids?
No, no, no. So all three of those teams that we're talking about, they all declined bowl invites to participate in a bowl game.
So
So they,
so then they were invited, but they just said we're opting out.
right, exactly. The bowl isn't forcing them to play in it. Every school they have to formally be invited, and they can either accept or decline it. So
Yeah. Oh, I see the quote now. Notre Dame AD. I can never say his name. Pete Bavakia. Is that how you say his name?
yeah, Pete Bavaki, yep.
Says the ACC has done permanent damage to its relationship with the Irish. We were mystified by the actions of the conference. They have certainly done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame. Give me a break.
You guys aren't even in the ACC for football. Why does it matter?
You're an independent team. What do you care what the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC, what do you care about?
Big 12?
The Big 12? What do you care about what the conferences do?
You should.
You make more money on your own as an independent team than if you were to join a conference and then you have to split it up like what the heck Big Ten was trying to do, get that deal with that California retirement pension fund, which, by the way, was a huge failure and didn't end up working out.
No, I know, because thank goodness that would have been a complete disaster. But
Notre Dame, you could be sharing your brand money percentage with the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12. You're an independent team. You don't share money with anybody. And you're complaining about the ACC?
And you also get to build your own schedule.
First of all, and I've said this a million times, and Nick D doesn't agree with me, but like I said, the conferences should build the entire schedule for everybody.
Which is what the conferences do. If
No. I'm not just talking about conference games. I'm saying everything should be conference. Everything.
Well, that's easier said than done. But
why? If you played conference all the way through, then there would be no such thing as a bad loss or a good loss.
Because then the smaller schools who you play early in the season don't get revenue for playing the bigger schools.
I'm saying to eliminate the clown show games. They mean nothing. The only thing that it means is that a school who is desperate enough for attention and for money is accepting money from a Notre Dame or an Alabama or Georgia or any team.
Well, should they? Well, are you saying that smaller schools shouldn't do that?
I think it's a bad optic on both sides.
What makes it bad for the smaller school, though? I don't get it.
It looks desperate.
So they shouldn't be on national TV?
I'm not saying they should be on national TV. I'm saying it's desperate that the big schools are paying these schools that have no business being part of the CFP or part of college football. And they're only doing it because they're paying them $750,000 to show up. Are they showing up if they're not being paid?
Probably not. And sometimes those smaller schools actually win. It's unbelievable.
Actually, this year, didn't we have like 3 or 4 upsets, if I'm not mistaken, this year?
Yeah, we did.
So my point is, the only reason those small schools are showing up is because of the money. They're not showing up because of pride, as you like to say, with college football fans, right? I mean,
yeah, I do throw that term around sometimes, don't I?
There's no pride involved. There's a big fat check for $750,000 on the other side, and that's why they come and they play the damn football game. Well, what other reason is for the small school to come?
Well, if there was no money involved, they wouldn't play it.
Because I'll tell you right now, if there was no money being involved, these teams would get their asses beat up in the first half, losing like 40-0.
Which is what usually happens anyway.
Now, we had a few instances. What was it? Dominion, I think, was the school that ended up, or Old Dominion, or whatever school was that.
Old Dominion, yeah.
Who did they beat? I forgot who they beat, but they ended up winning like single-handedly, and that's what I like to call the double whammy, where they got the money to show up knowing that they thought they were going to lose, but they end up winning in the process and make the big school look like a dumbass in the process.
That's correct.
When I see games like that, I hope that the small school wins every single time because I want the big school to look like an idiot in the process for playing those games. And isn't it ironic? And I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but it's important. But the way the system is built now with the committee, because they don't like, you would think those games would be stupid to schedule because, okay, you got to win, but you beat one of the more smaller schools in college football. Wouldn't that be a detriment more than playing those games for a win?
You would think, but it also is one of those where these bigger schools can show like, okay, this is and I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying from a perspective standpoint, they could be like, oh, this is where we can show, okay, maybe we do have a chance to be really good. Is it the greatest measuring stick in the world? No, but that's what most of these schools use those smaller games for.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I would stop the pay for play games and just build a schedule around conferences for the regular season. And let the SEC play SEC games. Let the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the ACC play conference games. And since we have 12 teams, or it looks like how many conferences we are? We're 5.
Yeah,
so
technically 5. If you want to count the Pac-12 as 2 teams, then yes.
6 or whatever, 5. So the way you figure it out is if there's 16 teams, 3 from each. And then if you want to count Notre Dame as a separate team, that would be your 16. Like, you take the 3 best teams that lead your conference after conference play for the entire season.
Which is what the Big 10 did in this year's playoff. They got 3 teams in, and they were the 3 best teams. Undefeated Indiana, 1 loss Ohio State, and 1 loss Oregon.
And I'm saying the records are the reason they get in. I don't want this nonsense of if you play conference all year, then you can't say this loss is better than this loss because you're playing your direct competition the whole season.
Right. Well, how do you feel about when early in the season, for example, a Big 10 team plays an SEC team to begin in the season? For example, Ohio State versus Texas.
I wouldn't allow it.
Really?
I would say you literally play the conference all season long, and you pick the 3 best teams plus Notre Dame if they're going to be independent, and you make up your 16-team field. All the conferences take their 3 best teams by record and put them in the playoff. Enough of this cross-section. It doesn't. The only reason they play the cross-section games is because they think it's a big game because it's big teams across conferences. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, most of the time they are big games, though. Last year was number 1 versus number 2.
No. I get that. But I'm saying, you asked me about crossing over between SEC and what was the 2 conferences you said again?
Big 10.
So those games mean nothing. It doesn't affect one way or the other where the team should stand. At least in my opinion, they shouldn't. Because that's like in baseball when the American League plays a National League game and they play an interleague game. That game, even though it counts in the standings, does it really mean anything?
No, in terms of winning your division, no.
No. And I know that's a very odd thing to compare it to, but like,
well wait. So then do you feel the same way about the NFL when an AFC team plays an NFC team?
Kinda, yeah. The AFC playing NFC during the season just makes no sense either, in my book. You should play.
Because there's no tiebreakers. There's
That's what I'm getting at.
The Bears Steelers game is not going to matter, and it's not going to matter in Week 18.
God, that is and that's why it's in Week 18 because it's a useless game that no one cares about.
Well, no. I'm not saying they play each other. I'm saying it's not going to matter by the time we get to Week 18 because the Bears already played Pittsburgh.
Correct, but I'm saying AFC should play AFC all year. NFC should play NFC all year. That way you get the most direct competition for tiebreaker reasons.
And you also know who the best teams are in every division. because they would have played the same schedule all year.
Because the only reason you get an AFC versus an AFC game is because for TV reasons is why they want one of those games or when you get the Super Bowl matchup, it's the Super Bowl matchup from the year before. You know what the problem with that is. Those teams are never the same when they come back.
Right.
So is it really a Super Bowl rematch? It's
No,
not.
it's a TV ratings extravaganza because they want as many people to watch that game as possible.
Thank you. Exactly right. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Which means if we really support conference versus conference only, then we should refuse to watch any cross conference games until the playoffs begin.
Correct. And I'm saying I'd want to see Ohio and Indiana more often than seeing a cross-section game.
Yeah, Ohio State versus Indiana every year would be really exciting, but unfortunately, with the way the Big Ten's rotational schedule works, it's not always possible. So it would only happen once every 4 years.
Yeah, but if you just remove the rotational nonsense and you just played conference all year, you would get everybody every year, and it wouldn't matter.
Oh, I know, but I think the reason why the Big Ten in particular does it now is because they've added the West Coast schools. They want to minimize as much travel back and forth as possible.
That's another thing. And we don't have enough time because we have other stuff to get to, but this will be a topic maybe for a different discussion, not a podcast episode.
Okay.
I don't love the whole let's add West Coast teams because of money standard.
Oh, so you haven't been in support of the 4 new schools?
Hell no, I am not.
That have entered the Big Ten.
I mean, heck, when you guys played USC,
yeah,
didn't they traveled, right? It wasn't Illinois.
They did. They traveled to Champaign. Yeah.
You realize how ridiculous that is, right?
Oh, it was dumb. It was dumb. And Illinois ended up winning, and everybody kind of knew that USC was going to lose because of the time difference, and they did. So
and what's the other one? Oh, Rutgers going out to UCLA.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell asked for that matchup?
Nobody.
But they're doing it because of what? All this money that's out there.
Yeah, and TV deals too.
And no one cares about the students whatsoever. Not that most of these football players care about being in school anyway.
Well, some of them do. Some of them are really smart.
Some are, but a good portion of those football players, you really think they're there to do homework?
No. And I can attest having taken classes with former student athletes. There were the ones who were really dedicated and the ones who weren't.
And the ones who get away with shit, too.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right. I'm going to move this along because if I keep talking about this, I'm going to get angrier about it. So let's do a quick college football playoff national championship pick. I mean, you basically know where I stand on this already. I think this is Ohio State's to lose.
Who will Ohio State play, though, in your opinion, looking at the bracket? By the way, it's straight seeding, so it should be easy to figure out who you think they might play.
Who did they beat last year? Was it Georgia?
No, they beat Notre Dame.
Or Notre Dame, sorry. But they played...
They beat Texas to get into the championship game.
Okay. Well, obviously, you're going to have a different national championship this year with Notre Dame being out.
Right, exactly. So you can't get a rematch.
I don't know. That's a good question. I kind of wish. I know it can't happen. I kind of wish Ohio State, Indiana could have been a national championship game. That would have been insane. But obviously, it can't be.
Oh, right. Because based on this, how they're seeded. Yeah, they couldn't be. It would have to be a semifinal game, right?
Right. So I kind of wish that was a national championship game. That would have been sick. But I think both those teams are. Oh no! Wait a minute. No, they can be. They're on opposite sides of the bracket.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because Ohio State's in the Cotton Bowl and Indiana's in the Rose Bowl. Yeah.
See, that's the game I want for the national championship game.
The rematch?
Yes.
Yeah, because I actually think Ohio State wins the rematch if Ohio State plays them again.
That's must-watch TV. And Playback, if you're listening, when this episode comes out, you got the national championship games last year.
And the semifinals, they got both of
Yeah.
them.
So if Ohio State plays Indiana in the national championship, you better get that freaking game. I'm serious because that is must watch TV. I do agree with you. If there's a rematch, I think Ohio State punches back. I think
And I'm not saying Indiana's bad because they're elite, but beating the defending champs twice is a huge ask.
it's tough.
And Ryan Day, you know that Ryan Day means business when the first thing he says at his Cotton Bowl reveal press conference on Sunday that uh that we're gonna handle this loss like men and we're gonna come back and punch
Yes.
whoever it is that we play in the mouth. That's a coach that knows that it's a national championship repeat or bust playoff run. That's how you know.
Yeah.
And
All right.
I'm sure that he's so pissed that I'm sure he has 15 different bulletproof bullet point material to where as soon as those guys master all 15 whatever motivational metrics he's going to use to get them through, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They might Nick, they might cruise to the championship game. Honestly, they might seriously make every game look super super easy.
I mean,
So
they're going to beat Texas A&M or Miami single-handedly. It's not even going to be close.
I think so. I think so too.
Could Georgia give them a run possibly on the other side of the bracket? I mean, they
Yes.
could, but I still think Ohio State is just too good.
Well, they're
I think.
too good, and Ohio State has a better quarterback.
And then
That
just look
also helps.
and then look on the other side of the bracket. I don't see Alabama or Oklahoma beating Indiana at all.
No,
Um,
no. I think Indiana would have an easier time beating Oklahoma than Alabama, though.
I agree totally. And also Texas Tech on the top side. Obviously, they're gonna get through. But I don't see Texas Tech beating Indiana by any means
No,
whatsoever.
Texas Tech is a very good team. They have a really good linebacker that might win the Heisman, but outside of him, unless he has the game of his life, they don't have a chance. So
Yeah. So all right,
this is almost tailor made for a Big Ten championship rematch down in Miami. I honestly think the playoff knew. I honestly think the playoff knew exactly what they were doing here.
I mean, for the most part, I mean, would Notre Dame being in would it have made it more competitive?
It would have for sure. Oh, 100%.
But
They would have won maybe a game or two. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they probably would have scared Ohio State or Indiana a little bit, depending on where they were. The
Yeah,
bracket.
I would say more so Indiana, and then just because Notre Dame had been rolling teams for the last month, and they have that really good running back who could also be a Heisman finalist. But besides maybe the first game, they would have had a tough time, I think.
I forgot which game it was. It was on ESPN. Notre Dame was leading like 30-0 at the half.
Oh, against Stanford?
Oh my god. Like that was
Mhm.
insane. Like they
Mhm.
they were rolling Stanford like a burrito.
And
Like
it was 49-20 was the final score.
which that doesn't even signify how bad that game was, probably.
No way. Absolutely. I watched it too. It was a terrible game.
All right, let's get into NFL Week 14. Would you say this is one of the more awkward, surprising weeks that we've seen so far?
Yeah, it was an interesting week. Another crappy week for predictions over here. We did not do, at least I didn't do very
You
well.
had one of the worst weeks I've seen in a long time, too.
Yeah, how many losses do I have for this week?
I think
this
you only
was
had 4 wins.
this was a generationally bad week for yours truly over here.
And I'm mad at one of the games on this.
I think I'm gonna lose my second place slot in the competition because of how bad this week was.
I mean, just looking at the game that I'm mad about it is the second one on this banner, but we'll get to that in a second. Packers Bears, obviously big matchup.
Great game.
Mr. Bears fan over here.
No, it was an awesome game. These were two teams where it felt like a heavyweight fight the whole way through. The referees actually let them play, which I was really surprised. Like it was overall like a physical game, like a Bears Packers game that it should have been. It was nice to see that a lot of points were scored in this, but gosh darn it, the clock management at the end of the game by the Bears was
Terrible.
disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Well, and also the field awareness by Caleb at the end there, like not seeing DJ Moore in the flat right in front of him there.
Well, yeah, not just DJ Moore, Nick, but
he could have run for it too.
He could have just ran for it, and he would have probably scored, or he would have gotten a first down. It was.
I went back and watched the replay. He was on an island. He could have had that first down easily, running for it.
All he had to do was tiptoe to the sideline, touch his foot on the yellow line, and he would have been good.
By the way, that throw was not even close. Like, he threw it to the defensive player.
No, it wasn't close at all.
And by the way, he had a terrible first half too. Like, he just was not making the passes. He was all over the place.
And then it was like the first 5 minutes of the game was awesome. They get that interception, but they can't really do anything with it. Like
they turn it back over.
No, I know. And
first of all,
this is what Jordan Love does, though. He always comes into these pressure-filled situations, and he always makes the right throws, which is exactly, if you listen to Bando's breakdowns, episode 69 this past week, I called this game to a T. I said that whoever has the ball last was gonna determine how the game ends, and sure enough, an interception determined the outcome. So
I just don't get it with Caleb sometimes, because he's got a lot of ability at the quarterback position, but his fundamentals are just terrible.
Yeah, they're not great. Again, though, you do have to cut him a little bit of slack. It's his first year in Ben Johnson's system, so it's not like he can't improve. But this is one of those games where you just you couldn't make these fundamental errors.
Right, but the decision making at the end there, like, you have to know you need that first down right there. He sometimes is afraid to run the football when he's actually not bad at it.
No, he's not. He's not. He can scramble pretty well.
So, like, fundamental, and then he scares me every time, like, when the blitz comes and he tries to run out of the pocket. And, like, I don't know why it happens, but you notice, like, he almost runs out of bounds before throwing the ball away.
Yes.
At times. And I don't know why he panics or whatever when he escapes the pocket. Why that happens? Do you?
No, I don't. And I think he runs through his progressions way too quickly too.
I agree totally. Again,
and also again, like, not to put it fully on him, but just the play calling at the end of the game was just so stupid. You had a minute and 16 seconds left, and they stayed in the huddle for what felt like forever.
I know. It's crazy.
It made no sense at all. And Tom Brady even admitted on the broadcast, because I did something that I rarely ever do. I went out to a bar to watch this game, and they had the audio all the way up. And Tom Brady was basically like, yeah, like, I don't understand this decision making offensively. They had so much time on the clock, and they couldn't preserve it. So, well, I don't know.
The one last thing I'll say on this game, and it was interesting. Did you see the awkward when the coaches come up to each other after the game, the awkward handshake that happened between the two of them?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it was revealed after the game that Ben Johnson was saying that, I kicked Matt LaFleur's ass in games. Did you hear about that or no?
Yeah, I did. And obviously when it came down to it, his first game in Green Bay, he got burned a little bit. So,
but I understand why he was a little pissed about that statement being made.
Yeah,
and maybe that led to some awkward tension at the coaches shaking hands or whatever after the game. By the way, you don't really see that in any other game, any other professional league that does that. But all in all, was it a good game? It was a good game, but I just think fundamentals cost the Bears by far.
Yeah, well, fundamentals cost them by far, and it makes the Browns game this week a must win.
That's for sure.
Yeah, they're gonna win that one. Speaking of the AFC, though, we had a mess all across the AFC, starting in Vegas with the Broncos and Raiders. Absolute debacle of a game, as a debacle of a game as you could get. Something about the end of that game was extremely suspicious, and I'm sure you probably agree.
Oh, I mean, number one, I don't know what the Broncos were doing, like on that completed catch there. Like, if you don't hold that player down, by the way, in case people don't know, you could get penalized for delay a game if you hold a player down from the opposite team while you're trying to get up.
Oh, I know.
And if they don't do anything, the clock runs out and the game is over. And I said, oh, it's 24-14. It's 38. It's under the 40.5 that we had for the picks.
Well, no, I had Denver, so I felt great. I felt really good because I had Denver.
We both were in decent shape as long as they didn't kick the field goal.
And they did.
But that whole process felt weird because the delay of game is committed by the Broncos. But here's the weird thing about that. Did they really need to kick the field goal?
No. So my other question is, do you think they knew what the spread was?
Well, no one's ever going to admit that. But I just don't understand. What they kept claiming on the broadcast is that Pete Carroll was kicking with 5 seconds left because he thought he was going to get a chance at like an onside or a punt or whatever to get the ball back.
He would have had no time. They would have had to recover the onside kick
and run it back.
No, yeah, and hope the up man picked it up and ran it.
That's why it made no sense.
It would have made no sense at all.
That's what's so agitating about this whole bullshit. Because it's like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing here?
Isn't it weird that the worst game on paper the whole week had the weirdest ending?
Yeah. First of all, this last game was 10-7 the last time they played.
I know. It was a terrible game itself. And isn't it hilarious that the Raiders covered in both games?
That's the problem. Like, again, weird scenario, weird outcome. I guarantee you the Vegas and the casinos made a lot of money off that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. It is what it is. Also, speaking of other scenarios, the Jets missed the playoff for the millionth time in a row.
That's now 15 years in a row. It's the longest active drought in professional sports. I don't know what it's like to be a Jets fan, Nick, but I'm sure it's pretty damn painful.
Ugh. I mean, I have no words anymore.
I guess if you want to cue the clown show, you certainly can.
I don't know what to say anymore at this point. It's so frustrating. I mean, you said clown show.
I meant the other one.
Well, I have that one too, but I don't know if I have the other one in here. But it's just annoying. Like, being a Jet fan is miserable. Fire Aaron Glenn, please. But we all know that's not going to happen. Aaron Glenn's going to be back next year. We were starting an undrafted free agent quarterback. Just saying. Because Justin Fields has a knee injury and Tyrod Taylor had a groin injury during the game.
They need to somehow tank for one more season to get Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. By the way, he would be a stud in New York if he actually had a quarterback around him. He would be really good there. I mean, Nick, he's so good in college right now that people were saying that if he was draft eligible last year, he was so good that he would have gone number one. That's how good he was last year and currently is. So
I get it. I mean, first of all, we've had a bad track record of drafting quarterbacks. It just never works out.
I know.
I mean, Sam Darnold, who was a bust in New York, now all of a sudden figures it out in Seattle. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
It seems like you guys can't have nice things.
Well,
and it seems like I know you've never been to an NFL game, but it seems like going to a Jets game just sounds miserable.
I'm not. You couldn't pay me to go to a goddamn Jets game. Like, I just won't do it. Like, I don't feel like sitting through misery knowing that they're going to lose before I walk in the building. And of course, this week was the 1 week I said, "Oh, I'm going to take the Jets to cover," and they get embarrassed by Miami. But it is what it is. But speaking of odd situations, the Colts, who might not win a game, the rest of the year due
So
to
I'm gonna go out on a limb now and say I think Houston wins the AFC South.
Oh, they're totally going to win the AFC South now after pretty much dominating Kansas City.
It's going to be Houston versus Jacksonville for the division title, I think.
Did you think we would ever get to that point, having Houston versus Jacksonville?
Not 5 weeks ago when it looked like both teams were spiraling.
But, well, let's go back a second. So the reason we're saying the Colts are not going to win a game is because obviously Daniel Jones has a torn Achilles from the game on Sunday.
Because he was having a great season. He was having a really good year. It looks like the Colts were gonna do something. It looked like they were gonna be the class of the AFC, maybe the number 2 or number 3 seed, and now it doesn't even look possible. I genuinely feel bad for him. I really do.
All right. That being said, looking at this game, I never would have thought this would have been the outcome for the division at all.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, we still have time left in the regular season, but it looks like if he's going to be done for the year, probably the season's over for the Colts, which would mean it would open the door for Houston and Jacksonville to play for the AFC South title.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, I'm not shocked because Daniel Jones has been hurt before, by the way, also, but the Colts season is over. It's over. They might not win a game the rest of the way.
I know. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, overall though, just to put a bow on week 14, some good games, some nice upsets, some nice parity. It's good to see divisional football just be like a cornerstone of what this week was. It felt like it was very divisional heavy, and you just love to see that. But now that we're on to week 15, you want to preview Thursday night football between Atlanta and Tampa Bay?
I mean, there's a lot of things going. Just for some transparency behind the scenes, just for what's been going on. Originally, we would take a break here for playback stuff. Obviously, we're not going to do that. We'll talk about the game. We got some news that came down during this show, which I'll share at the end, but I'll leave that where that is right now. But let's talk about Thursday night football. Falcons at the Bucs. The Falcons are a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is 44.5. And how do we feel about this game?
I would have felt better about it had the Buccaneers took care of business, but they didn't. So how do I feel about this game? Is it's going to be a stinker game, not a good Thursday night game, although I would be lying if I said some of these Atlanta Tampa Bay games in the past have been really good. I just don't think this is one for the Cards. I think the under is the play here, because I don't know how either of these teams are going to show up. So,
yeah, this
and I feel like that spread line is just scary because you don't know what Atlanta team you're going to get, and I think Tampa Bay is going to be pissed because they just lost a divisional game this past week against a team that had no business being in the game, and they're playing a Falcons team that's streaky. So I think I'm scared to pick a team, so I'm not going to do it. But if I were to hedge on a team, it would be Tampa Bay. I just don't think it's worth the risk of 4.5 because, again, you don't know what Atlanta team is going to show up. So I love a total here. Give me the under on the game.
Yeah, I hate this game too. The Falcons have been a dumpster all year long. Not their fault completely. Penix goes down with an injury. Bijan's been amazing so far, but that's not going to win them games all the time. The Bucs, Baker's been great for the most part all year, but they're a very streaky situation of their own. So I'm staying away from the spread. I don't like it. I would go under 44.5 also.
Okay, so we're both in agreement again for yet another week. We were burned last week with Detroit and Dallas. Hopefully we're not burned this week.
Yeah, I hope not. This game has ugly written all over it, I feel like. But of course, then we both say it's ugly. They're going to score like 60 points in this game and we're going to get screwed over again.
Because of our luck. That's why.
Yeah. So. All right. We'll finish up with some quick stories here.
as they say, quick hits, kind of like what I introduced this past weekend on Bando's Blitz, which might actually be a regular thing to speed the segment up, but more on that later. I guess this is our own unofficial version of it.
Oh, I guess I forgot to turn the timer off, which I'm doing quickly as we move here. Historic LeBron James streak is over. 1,297 straight games of 10 points or more in his career over 18 years. Incredible streak.
It's very impressive, but I mean, is there really anything to scoff about when he's one of the best players of all time? I mean, you knew this streak was going to come to an end at some point. I mean, you can't keep a streak forever. So,
I mean, he was just an incredible specimen by himself. Really kept himself in really good shape to be able to go almost 1,300 straight games with 10 points or more is incredible. Like, you just don't see it. And I don't think you're ever going to see an athlete like LeBron James ever again in the NBA.
I don't think so either. And I've had the luxury of seeing him play live once, and he had a great game at the game I was physically at, which is no surprise because he's LeBron. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those where, in 10, 15 years, whenever I have kids, or if I do have kids, they'll all probably tell them, well, LeBron James, was my generation's version of what Michael Jordan was in the 90s, because obviously I've grown up through the LeBron era. I wasn't alive during the Jordan era. So he's one of those where if you loved him or hated him, you had to respect him. And this streak is the embodiment of that. So I can't be more happy for him that he had as long of a streak as he did. And I think it's cool. I mean, Father Time catches up to everybody. Could this mean that Father Time is catching up to him? I don't know, but for him to go that long and for almost 2 decades do that is extremely impressive.
Right. So the next biggest streak, I think, was Shy with like 200 games. They said he would have to play until he's 41 years old just to get to that record that he's holding.
Wow. Okay.
So we'll see what happens there. Other quick hits. UFC enters 2026 with 0 champions having defended their titles. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's the first time I think in 20 plus years that that's the case. I mean, literally, you look down every single champion right now, they have 0 defenses. And as it says in the parentheses there, Marab is no longer the UFC bantamweight champion, and then Pantoja severely injures his elbow. The UFC thought it was his shoulder. The reports came out that it was later his elbow. So Joshua Van became the first UFC fighter born in the 2000s to win a title. So the UFC's in a very weird spot with all of its champions right now. And technically, even though Aspinall is still a heavyweight champion, he technically never defended his title against Gane because of the eye poke. So the UFC's in a really weird spot with its champions at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and like we previewed, they have a really good card coming up for the first card of the year.
Yeah,
in January. So hopefully we get off to a good start in 2026.
Hopefully the zero defense thing goes away, and the only way that can happen to begin the year is if Kayla Harrison beats Amanda Nunes. So we'll see. So
another interesting storyline of a fight,
without a doubt. A very, very weird, I guess, to be determined beginning of 2026. So
one more quick hit story and then some news we got to talk about. Could Warner Brothers and Netflix ruin streaming?
I think it's possible.
So this was a massive deal. As the banner disappears, because I keep forgetting to turn the timer off. Let's do this one more time. There we go. So what did you think of this deal when you originally saw it?
I'm not surprised. I mean, all these media conglomerates now are trying to get in on stuff. I mean, look at what Netflix is trying to do, Nick. We haven't spoken about this enough, but they're really interested in the Big Ten championship game, airing it as a streaming service in 2026. And think about the limited visibility that a traditional person with regular TV has, to where now you may need a streaming service to watch one of the biggest college football games of the year. I mean, and I understand this isn't a direct correlation, but it kind of is, because if this were to occur, I mean, people are talking about it. It would be $50 to $80 a month, which is what cable, one of the cheaper cable packages usually is. So it's very, it's one of those where they're almost trying to play with us a little bit, and they're almost trying to, I guess, cater to a certain eco status standard, which I don't think is right, because not everyone can afford all of this stuff and be able to watch everything. And I think it's almost media companies wanting to one up on each other, and I don't think that's right. So
the deal was $82 billion.
see, this is just absurd. They could be using the money for other means. Like I don't understand. Like $82 billion just isn't floating around. That's what I don't get.
Well, they had to take like massive debt or whatever. They had to go borrow it to pay the money. I'm reading the story off the Netflix website. So the cash and stock transaction is valued at $27.75 per share of Warner Brothers Discovery, with a total enterprise value of approximately $82.7 billion. Transaction is expected to close after the previously announced separation of WBD's Global Networks division. This acquisition brings in together two pioneering entertainment businesses, combining Netflix's innovation, global reach, and best-in-class streaming service with Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, SAG and a bunch of those other organizations were not happy when this news got announced.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah.
And then there was news that broke a couple hours before we started recording that Paramount, Skydance, is making a bid, basically an emergency bid to try to take it away from Netflix. And the offer is rumored to be from Skydance $108 billion.
I think Skydance might win that.
But the problem is Netflix had already agreed to buy Warner Brothers Discovery at the $82.7 billion.
Oh, very interesting.
This sounds like almost like an emergency. If I put more money out there, maybe they'll take it.
You know what I think it is? I think it's convoluted nonsense. I think it's media companies trying to one up each other. That's what I think it is. Oh, you can't have the silver platter? Oh, bring it over here.
Oh,
okay.
I have more money than Netflix does. I'll just go and and I'll just pull it out myself.
See, that's 100% my point.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. We've made it to the end of the episode.
Somehow we finally made it to the end of another episode. That felt like it was a marathon, not a sprint.
So some news. So we already told you Novig is out the door due to legal issues.
But this news that we're about to break has some pros and some cons. It's not all bad, but there's a sad portion of it that is kind of disappointing.
So, unfortunately, at this time, we just got a message from our Discord from Playback. Now, you notice we've been promoting Playback like crazy because we do our streams on there. And we've done NBA streams. We've done NFL Red Zone streams. We've done baseball streams. We've watched the World Series. We've watched the NBA Finals. We've watched the WNBA Finals. We've done a lot.
College Football National Championship.
We watched March Madness. And we have a huge secondary show catalog that takes place over on Playback.
Which one of my shows it's also a part of, which, by the way, for those of you who may be freaking out, it is not going away, and I will let you do the honors to explain what is exactly happening.
So, unfortunately, at this time, Playback TV is going offline on December 12th.
Yeah, which is going to be the evening of when my newest edition of Bando's Breakdowns premieres.
So, unfortunately, it sounds like due to business, the way the business is heading right now with streaming and all this stuff, they just could not get the audience reach up enough to get the rights for more sports stuff, which you've heard me a million times be mad about and frustrated about with them, where if they had gotten more of the rights, they probably wouldn't be having this issue right now.
I don't think so either, but that's for another discussion, though.
But unfortunately, with Playback being shut down, um, we are going to move all the shows that we were doing on Playback, the secondary catalog of shows, over to here on StreamYard, where we record the shows, and they are still going to go to YouTube. We're gonna get them to Twitch and hopefully to Kick, and now we're gonna add Twitter into the mix.
Yeah, which means you'll see it on ETB's Twitter, and then potentially for my Bando's breakdowns Twitter, and even my own Twitter as well, depending on how many we can add, which would be kind of cool.
I think we can add as many as we want on here too. So the only annoying hurdle is going to be that I'm going to have everybody log in and connect there. If you remember that whole convoluted process we went through to get it all connected, but it's fine. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so Playback's going away. At least they say for the time being, because they kind of left a little bit of an odd messaging.
They left an odd message, but they did leave an open door. It seems like they want to look for a new investor to buy the business. So we'll see what ends up happening with that.
If it comes back, we will go back. That's the plan.
Yeah, I mean they've only been good partners to us, so
yeah,
there's no reason why we shouldn't go back if it's going to be available in the future.
I'm trying to think like what streaming companies could buy it. Like
I have no idea.
But it would have to be almost like a Twitter
maybe Rumble.
Oh, Rumble would be an interesting one, maybe, but
because Rumble kind of fits their audience of being very, flamboyant and non-politically correct, and
that might be another one I might look into us for simulcasting too, since maybe we can connect that to StreamYard.
That'd be kind of cool.
So we're not going anywhere. All those shows will, and it's going to help us because we're trying to reach a YouTube goal faster. So everything will still be live. We just won't have the Playback platform. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to watch games for the time being.
No, so unfortunately, our red zone era for the season is over. So this past week was the last time that we watched Red Zone as a group, like on screen. So
yeah, so I mean, we could still do things like where we could be live streaming and we can watch on our TVs and stuff.
It's hard though, because as you've been the brunt of bad news about is our TV delays. So some of us are ahead, some of us are behind. That's what took that's what took that problem away with Playback, because we were all watching the same thing. So
I hope they come back. I do, because I think there's a lot of benefit to it, that platform.
I think they will.
And
they have too many creators, in my opinion, that rely on that, and they've shifted their focus. I mean, no names mentioned, but there are people that are credentialed media that are literally media under them.
Oh, it's insane. Gilbert Arenas was on there.
No, I know.
That was huge. Like, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll continue through the end of the week, and
we'll continue through the end of the week. We're still going to push it through Friday, but sadly, no more Zain Singer Part 2 on Playback anymore, and there's some sad, I guess, era-ending things, but still going to get it over here. It's just not going to feel the same as what it used to.
But you know what? The benefits of being on here, you'll get a background again. You'll get banners now. You'll get
again,
so people can actually see what you're talking about. We can clip out of here again for the shows.
We can even put new intros and outros in if we really wanted to.
Yeah, technically we could, because it's
side.
Because actually it'll be covered as opposed to what Playback did. But that's the one thing I didn't like, by the way, with the intros. I'm gonna stop babbling because this show's way over right now. But
way over.
But I think just for the sake of we had to get through this, because we found it out like minutes ago from in this recording. So no more Playback after the 12th. Everything will be integrated back over to YouTube and Twitch and Kick.
But I do just want to say I appreciate them for giving us another vehicle to try new things that would have never been possible 2 years ago. So
yeah, and the shows are going to continue. They're not going anywhere.
I gotta give them that, because there was a lot of innovative stuff that we did. So
yeah, but like I said, the shows are not going anywhere. They're just not going to be on Playback anymore. So we'll figure it out. But until then, our our last episode of the season
Next week.
is next week. We will be doing a longer episode, 2 hours, to kind of signify the end of the year. So don't miss it.
Yeah,
And
because I was the newest host to join the party as the permanent
well,
co-host.
and you don't have to worry because the show is not going anywhere into the new year. So
well, thankfully, I'm not going anywhere either.
So until then, make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at ETB Sports. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. If you can't watch on the video side, listen to Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcasts. And for now, Empty the Bench is presented by Playback, playback.tv/ETB Network for the time being till the end of the week. So make sure you watch whatever we're doing on there until it goes off.
Yeah, and make sure to check out our archive because we'll make sure that our archive is all saved. Away any streams you guys want to go back and watch before the room goes away, it'll all be kept. So don't worry about that.
Well, they're up on YouTube.
Oh, true. Yeah. So
I don't think they would go anywhere as long as because they were attached to a stream. So
right.
If you want to go check out some stuff we did, you can. But that'll do it. He's Zain Bando. I'm Nick Morgasen. Last episode before the holiday, episode 299, which means we come back on episode 300 in the new year.
Yeah, it should be fun. Looking forward to it.
And we have some surprises in the works for episode 300. We'll tell you more about that next week in the 2-hour episode. So until then, he's Zain Bando. I'm Nick Morgasen. Have a good day, everybody. We will see you next week.
Have a good one.